Are you thinking of moving to Verde Valley, Arizona, but you're not really sure which of the towns would be right for you or for your family? Well, in this video, I have compiled a list of the very most common criteria that people have when they are looking for a home and looking for a new place to live. And I have recommended a town or a couple of towns in Verde Valley that could be best for you based on each of the individual criteria. Now, I have compiled this list just based on my own experience of living in Sedona for the past 7 years and selling real estate to my clients in Sedona in the Verde Valley, just knowing what they have been looking for and what they thought was best for them. So if you're thinking of moving to Verde Valley at all, considering northern Arizona, watch this video and I'm going to tell you about the best Verde Valley town that could be right for you to move to. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I will teach you everything there is to know about living in the northern Arizona towns. My name is Dawn Dickinson, and I am a full-time real estate agent in northern Arizona. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. My contact information is always in the description below. So my very first question would be, do you have kids that are school age, that are in K through 12 school systems? And if the answer would be yes, then I might recommend the 3 towns that have a public high school. So Sedona has the Red Rock high school, middle school, and elementary school system. That the Camp Verde has a public high school, the home of the Cowboys, and also Cottonwood has the Mingus school district, the Mingus high school, and those 3 towns do have a big school system, lots of kids in the areas, but that doesn't mean the other towns aren't good for kids. I just have noticed the 3 bigger schools in those towns. And then also Rimrock has Beaver Creek Elementary, I think it is. There's also a little school in Cornville, but if you want a bigger school where there are more children, I might suggest Sedona, Cottonwood, or Camp Verde. Now, I know Sedona, people say, oh, only old people live there, but that's not necessarily true. I live in the village of Oak Creek. There are kids on my block, and there is a school bus that goes through my neighborhood. So I would probably recommend one of those 3 towns if my kids were still young and in school. Now, something I would like to add to this, I have an adult child with a disability, but when he was in school, we had him in public school during elementary school, and then we had him in a charter school during middle school, because the charter schools were bragging about how great they were for kids with disabilities, and they were actually terrible. We ended up putting him back in a public school in high school. The public schools do seem to be much more equipped to deal with a child with a disability. So if I had a child, well, I do have a child, but if I were young again and my children were young and I have the disability to deal with again, I would just put him in public school the entire time, unless you maybe have a severe autism, and in those cases there are schools for autism, but those usually have, I remember like tuition being like $40,000 a year. So again, unless you're super rich or you can get the government to pay for it, we were always at the point where he was too high functioning for any government assistance, but yet too low functioning. So that was just something to think about. If you have a disabled child, I would stick with the public school in Verde Valley, but I would say that's the same situation for the entire state of Arizona. Okay, so let's go to criteria number 2. I do have a lot of people that are moving to Verde Valley because they have either horses or they like to keep farm animals like chickens or goats. If I was moving with a horse, or when I'm selling people with horses, usually the 2 that I recommend most is going to be Rimrock or Camp Verde, but there are many places that allow horses in, say, Cornville. Also, parts of Sedona allow horses. I've seen out on Jack's Canyon, there are places with horses. Also in the Red Rock Loop. Probably if you're in Sedona, the Red Rock Loop would be the best place to have farm animals. But I've also, up Dry Creek, seen homes that have horse property. But now know that if you have a horse and you're trying to find a place in Sedona, it's probably very expensive to find a home, probably over $1 million. If you would look in Rimrock or Camp Verde or Cornville, you're going to have a more affordable option if you're looking to keep farm animals. That doesn't mean that you can't find farm animals in, say, I've seen many places in Cottonwood that have chickens, and I've also seen goats in Cottonwood, probably the same thing in Clarkdale, but my choices would be Camp Verde and Rimrock if I was trying to find a place that allowed me to keep my horse. All right, the third criteria I'm going to be talking about would be my own choice. If you are older, pushing retirement, pre-retirement age, Sedona would be my first choice, and that's probably why I live in Sedona right now. I moved to Sedona when I was in my early 50s, anticipating when I got close to retirement that would be where I want to settle, just because the median age is higher. I think in Villageville Creek, where I am, it's about 60, 61, probably West Sedona, maybe a little bit lower median age, like late 50s, 58, 59. There are a lot of activities for older people. There are a few age-restricted communities. I like to be outside of the age-restricted community. One of the reasons is sometimes you get everybody retired. They're a little bit more of a busybody. But for me, the real kicker was, again, I just tell you, I have an adult disabled child. Sometimes he likes to walk around the neighborhood barefoot. Now he does stay with his father most of the time, but he'll come stay with me for a month or so. Sometimes when you're in the retirement community and they look outside and see, a grown man walking barefoot, mumbling to himself, they freak out. Not that doesn't happen anywhere, but I might avoid the retirement communities if you have anything like that going on. But if you like the older people around you doing the older people activities, Sedona is going to be my first choice. Okay, criteria number 4 is people who are looking to move and they need to find a job. So if that is your case, I would say Cottonwood would be probably your first choice, and then Sedona. Now, Sedona, here's the deal. There are many jobs in Sedona. They're going to be hospitality type jobs. If you want to work in a hotel, if you want to work as a tour guide, if you want to work as a masseuse, as a spiritual counselor, Sedona is the hub for many of those types of jobs. Now, the catch here is that Sedona is the most expensive place to live in the Verde Valley. Actually, probably the most expensive place to live in all of northern Arizona. So if you have one of those type of jobs, you may not be able to afford to live in Sedona, and likely you're going to live in one of the other Verde Valley towns and then commute to Sedona. Like, for instance, the grocery store. Almost everybody that works at the grocery store where I shop frequently lives in Rimrock, and they commute. Same thing with West Sedona. If you're looking at a lot of resorts, probably going to live in Clarkdale, Cottonwood, or Cornville and commute to Sedona for work. Now, Cottonwood has the most jobs. You have the big regional medical center, you've got the hospital, you've got Walmart, you have the Home Depot, you have 2 car dealerships, and many of those types of jobs. But again, Verde Valley is small enough that if you were working in Cottonwood, you could live in any of the Verde Valley towns, such as, Clarkdale right next to it, Cornville, Rimrock, or Camp Verde, and commute. So if jobs is your criteria, Cottonwood, Sedona, probably going to be the best place for you to find work. Okay, number 5 on my list is scenery. If you really are moving to Verde Valley because you love the views and the beautiful view and being out in nature, positively the number 1 choice is going to be Sedona. There are many homes, including my own, where you just look out the window and there's a beautiful view of the Red Rocks. Also, some of the parts of Sedona are down by Oak Creek, so you have a beautiful view of the creek. Many, though, options are in Clarkdale and Cottonwood. They could be a little bit higher on the base of Mingus Mountain, and you could have a view of Sedona. And if you don't have a view of Sedona, maybe you're looking at Mingus Mountains, which is actually also a very beautiful view, especially in the wintertime when they are snow-capped. There are also some homes in Cornville and Rimrock that are a little bit higher, especially Rimrock. If you're way on the crest of the hill, you might be able to see Sedona on one side and Mingus Mountain on the other side. And the same thing in Cornville. If you're a little bit higher, you can see out in the Red Rocks in the distance. And also some of those places in Cornville Camp Verde, Cottonwood are very close to the Verde River, and you can have a beautiful waterfront view. The number 6 thing people look for, some people just really want a small town. They want that small town vibe. So if you are really craving a small town living experience, my 2 choices there are going to be Rimrock and Cornville. Also, Clarkdale is pretty small. Clarkdale could be on your list. Jerome, although Jerome is very few housing options and pretty much 100% relying on tourism. But if you really want a small town, and there might be some neighbors but not a whole lot, but if you were looking for that very small town vibe, I'm going to suggest Rimrock, which has maybe 3,000 or 4,000 residents. Cornville, about the same, 3,000 or 4,000, even Clarkdale, and that would give you a lot of tranquility and peace, and definitely a small town vibe. Now, if you want to purchase a brand new home, your 3 best choices there are going to be, my number 1 choice would probably be Clarkdale. There are a lot of brand new communities going up in Clarkdale. Also, Cottonwood has some new communities going up. Mesquite Hills is actually very popular. Every time they release a phase, they sell out instantly. And in Sedona, Miramonte may be finishing up their phase 2 of the townhomes. I'm not sure, they could have been sold out. If you have a really high budget, Toll Brothers is putting in a community in Sedona where they're starting at $2 million. So if you have a high budget, you could get a brand new build in Sedona. But most people, you know, we have tons of mansions in Sedona, so I don't know why they're doing new communities at $2 million up, because there's so many. That's kind of a saturated market. But if that's what you're looking for, brand new, that's an option in Sedona. Also Clarkdale, some new stuff going up near Mountain Gate, and of course Mesquite Hills in Cottonwood, really nice community. Best value probably at all is going to be in that Mesquite Hills community, but they are selling out very fast. Bidding wars, you may not be able to get one of those homes. Okay, so number 8 criteria is luxury. If you want luxury, Sedona hands down has probably half of the town is luxury homes. So we actually oversaturated with luxury homes. So if you're looking for luxury, you're gonna have so many choices that your head will spin. Many big, beautiful homes, you know, on acreage with big views, maybe not acreage, pools, no pool, red rock view, water view, huge homes, huge lots, pretty much any criteria you could think of. If you've got a couple of $1 million to spend, definitely I would recommend looking in Sedona. But also, if you want to be away from Sedona, in Cottonwood, there's some very nice communities that are a little bit nestled up by Mingus Mountain that you might be able to, starting at like $850,000, get a very nice, newer, gated community, 2,200 square foot home on a larger lot that overlooks Sedona. So those would probably be my first 2 choices if you are looking for luxury. Again, hands down, if I'm looking for luxury, I'm not going any place in Verde Valley except for Sedona. But again, there are some other places in maybe Clarkdale, or, you know, Cornville has a few of those too, but Cottonwood, nestled up against the Mingus Mountain Range, would be my second choice. Number 9 on my criteria list is going to be value. If you are looking for the best value for your buck, hands down, I'm going to say the best value in all of Verde Valley is going to be Rimrock. Now, Rimrock is kind of considered an up-and-coming community. It is a very, very small town, so that could be a little bit of a problem if you don't want to be that desolate, but there is a lot of different price ranges in Rimrock. You could get a nice brand new manufactured home on its own lot for a reasonable price, or you could get one of the nicer, bigger homes in the brand new gated community, that Brown construction, I think it's Brown, that was building, and pretty much anything in between. But probably the best price per square foot, best value is going to be in Rimrock. But just do understand, it is a very small town, small community, and you're going to have to go to Camp Verde, say, for the grocery store and that kind of thing. But Rimrock is going to have the best value in all of Verde Valley. And my final criteria is going to be, if you are looking for something very unique, something that you may not see somewhere else, that your friends are going to come over and like, wow, I've never seen a house like this. 2 choices are going to be, of course, Sedona and Jerome. Now, Jerome does not have a lot of homes for sale. You might see 1 or 2 houses available for sale at any one time. Most of the houses in Jerome are going to be like over 100 years old, although there are going to be a few newer ones in there now and then. It's going to be completely a tourist town, but because it's so high on the side of the mountain, you could have a great view of Verde Valley. And again, that's going to be very unique. You're not going to find anything like that anyplace else. And then of course Sedona, all the things that we have talked about, where you're going to have views of the Red Rocks, you're going to have lots of stuff to do. You could be down by Oak Creek, a definitely different community. There's a lot of spiritual centers. A lot of people are obsessed with aliens. Lots of hiking, a lot of older people who are super fit, nice sense of community, but again, a tourist town. Like if you can handle lots of tourists in the spring and the fall, maybe not, but again, looking for something super unique that you can brag to all your friends that, I got a house that nobody else has. Jerome and Sedona gonna be top in my list. So that's it. That is my guide to buying a home in Verde Valley if you're thinking of moving. My name is Dawn Dickinson. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona. I post videos like this every single week about the Northern Arizona towns, and I am an active full-time real estate agent. I live in Sedona, so I sell mostly in Sedona and Verde Valley, but also Flagstaff. I have partners in other parts of the state, like Prescott area, Phoenix, and I can also hook you up with some of the other towns if you're looking to move here but you're not really sure who you would like to work with. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Northern Arizona, my contact information is always in the description below, so please reach out to me, give me a call, a text, or an email. I will get back to you, and I love talking to my YouTube viewers about, buying a home in Northern Arizona. They always turn out to be my very best clients. So again, if you enjoyed the video, please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up, a like, consider subscribing, because I do post videos like this every single week. It helps my channel, it helps other people who are looking in the area to find this type of content. Leave a comment. Now, I do want to say, if you are wanting to have a question about real estate, comments probably the last place that you should leave it. Like, definitely send me an email, text, or phone call, because sometimes I'm super busy and I don't look at the comments for a long time. Or like right now, my mother is very, very ill. I probably won't look for comments for a long time, but I do appreciate it because it gets a dialogue going and it makes me think about, maybe I should do a video about this, or maybe I should consider this. So comment, like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you back here on my channel again next week.